As colonisation began to spread through Aotearoa, the ideas of missionary Christianity found a welcome home in the minds of our tipuna.
The Bible, at the end of the day, is a record of the oral tradition of a people. Another land, for sure, another people, another time, but it's born of an indigenous context. It's born from a people that were closely connected to their human condition in their land and to their experience of the divine. So when their stories were recommunicated to us, the ears of our Māori ancestors began to ring because they could understand. Moses speaks of a mountain, we have mountains. Moses speaks of the River Jordan, we have rivers. Moses speaks of a creator God who wants to be life-giving and wants us to fulfill all the potential of our human existence. We have that same experience too. So our tipuna, more deeply steeped in their tikanga and their reo than we'll ever be, saw the parallels immediately and wanted to harness all the positive potential that this Bible story had for us.
The Holy Bible is full of the astounding, the remarkable, the supernatural. There are revelations. Prophets receive their visions from God, signs of power, miracles of healing, struggles for justice and liberation.
Mehe mei hōnu tō rātou ākoranga e ngā hāhi. He mea tapu kia rātou. Mō ngā hunga kāhore I ruku I roto I tērā ao. Hoena he puka puka noiho. Me ngā kōrero a ngā poropiti, e tika ana e tahi wāhanga, e ahu kore take e tahi, e he ana e tahi. Engari, ko ngā whakapapa heke iho, koe tau ngā hāhia mahia nei e rā pēra I ngā mōmona e ki ana, ko tātou I heke iho, I ngā tamariki a Āperahama. Engari, ko te nuingo ngā Māori, ka wehe atu tērā ki te tā, he mahi mo te rātapu.
According to historical accounts, Penetana Papahurihia, also known as Te Atua Wera, was one who accepted the missionaries' God but rejected their way of worship. He was a renowned ngāpuhi tohunga, descended from a tradition of healers and possessed visionary powers.
Papahurihia, he was trained when very young to be a tohunga. And his knowledge grew up in Hokianga, with many other tohunga around him. There was kaitoke, and there were many others, and he grew up at a time where the tohunga had to start charting a new pathway that brought in westernization from Europe, being Māori and Christianity, and try and get these three things to function smoothly together.
Papahurihia was literate and became well-versed in the scriptures. Papahurihia was a product of a society where the merger of Māori thought and biblical insight created politics of uncertainty. Leadership was called for, a vision was needed. The snake is a biblical symbol of challenge, which Moses used to confront the power of Pharaoh in Egypt. And Moses used the snake as a symbol of hope, saving the people as long as they kept faith. To a people who had never seen a snake, this was an abstract image that Papahurihia brought to life through the strength of his words. He used the image of a snake as a new and powerful message to his followers, that the new forces facing the people could be overcome.
I think that word ngarara is a word that is always evocative of a human being who is slippery in their manner, someone who is untrustworthy. And I imagine that that's what Papahurihia would have done with that imagery at that time. Likened it to something that was present in the community, whether it was the tuna, that would have been the closest really, wouldn't it? So like the tuna, you know, you can't handle these things easily if you don't have a firm grip on their bodies. Then the chances are that they'll either get away from you and you won't know what the consequences are of that contact that nonetheless you've had.
Missionary Christianity was based on writings about scripture and prayer. Religion, therefore, came hand in hand with literacy, and literacy had a transformative power all of its own. This was not the time of the internet and social networking, but an era when a great orator who evoked powerful imagery was the greatest form of communication. Thousands would come to hear Papahurihia as he took on missionaries in debate, as he made this extraordinary imagery come to life inside the minds of his audience and his followers.
A symbol allows someone to tell a story, basically, tell a narrative, and bring in the land, bring in the people, bring in the history, and really map it out, depending on who your audience is. Through the history of Māori art, symbolism has been important. It's been a mnemonic device which carvers have used to tell stories, which men and women have used as a touch point and talked about ancestors. And that continued through the 19th century with the prophets who came through. And so just as they had grown up learning about the importance of symbolism as ways into the past and ways into our stories and our whakapapa, they used that and they brought that through in very specific and interesting ways in their own faiths.
Powerful, potent images such as these are used by all cultures to give a sense of the divine. These tohu, these symbols, are not necessarily literal or even logical. Instead, it's the divine at work in the world, wanting us to do more, to be more. And whether it was a burning hand or a diamond on top of a maunga or two birds or even a snake, the prophets were people of image. But let's not get obsessed with the facts of the prophetic image, because that's not what's really important. Instead, it's what the symbol brought to their followers and to us today.
When I read and when I've explored the impact of those whom we traditionally regard as the prophets in our midst, and including Papahurihia and Te Haumene and Tawhio and so on, I mean, the profound subtlety and yet the powerful intellect that they brought to bear in terms of critiquing what was actually going on in this country is just astonishing.